Hello, welcome. I'm back for another video, and even though I have mentioned a little bit about this specific series, I was it last year I did like a video talking about anime that I would love to see a continuation of, and this was a series that was in that video. But I want to make a dedicated video about this series because I feel it has, even though it's still very popular with anime fans that grew up around about that time frame or was watching around about that time frame. But it's a series that I think has sort of died down in popularity to a degree, or it's more of like an obscurity. Not many people either know of it or have seen it because of the generations of viewers of the time, and I feel it's a series that deserves a proper brand new adaptation. And yeah, I would absolutely love to see more from this series. So in this video, I'm going to talk about Claymore. Claymore is a anime series that was based upon the manga by Norihiro Yagi. I've read the entire manga. It is one of the very few that I've actually read the entirety of the manga. Even though I watched the anime first and then I got into the manga later. Now, the manga obviously goes past the original anime adaptation, and that is the reason why I picked it up. I wanted to see what happens what happens properly. Claymore is, as I've already mentioned in a previous video, but I'm going to just say it obviously for context. It is a story that mostly features around Claire, who is known as a Claymore, or although the townsfolk and people of this world know them also as silver-eyed witches. Now, they all work. These Claymore characters, they all work for a very shady organization. They take in young girls and they kind of do really abnormal and very, very weird like experimentation on them, and they turn them into a hybrid warrior using DNA from something known as a Yoma. Now, Yoma are these weird shape-shifting monsters that the Claymore characters or warriors fight. So it also features that one of the other main characters is a young boy called Rocky, who unfortunately he was basically being looked after by his big brother. And when Claire and Rocky first meet, sadly his brother is actually killed and is actually becomes a Yoma. Claire comes into the town where he lives because it's her job to destroy the threat in that village, because they travel from village to village and they get an award for their effort, and that's usually how it works. And yeah, so the Yoma, Rocky's brother, is killed, and Rocky, being left alone, is now completely orphaned. He has no one to look after him. He decides to follow her and go on this journey with Claire. And then he finds out, on this journey, he kind of finds out more about Claire in a way, and other Claymore characters come into the equation. And you find out something known as an awakening, which is basically what can happen to majority of all of these warriors, where they basically, the DNA of the Yoma within them can be so great, it's almost like a sexual thing. I know that sounds really weird to say that, but it's not in that sort of ballpark, but it's like it's so hard for them to snap out of that edge, and they unfortunately succumb to that. Some of them can succumb to that, and they will never turn human again. They will pretty much turn into the thing that they are trying to purge. And when this happens, another Claymore is assigned, and basically to end that Claymore's life. It's a very, very dark series. However, it does have good heart to it, and it also has some pretty good humour to it as well. Now, this is a very strong, rich series, and even though I do like the anime series that we've had before, that the original anime adaptation, however, it does not finish where it does not continue, or it doesn't give us a full story. It doesn't give us like what actually does happen, and I feel even though this was animated by Madhouse in Japan, an animation production company called Madhouse, Madhouse seemed to be a little bit vague around this series. There's been rumours of it coming out, rumours of it being something else coming out, either a new anime for a long time, which is a crying shame because this series, for me, really does deserve a proper adaptation. Pretty much, a lot of people are saying, can we have like the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood treatment on it? There is a lot of other series out there that I could also make a video for that I believe does deserve a proper another crack at it with an anime adaptation. Now, with Claymore, the whole manga is finished. It's been finished for a long time. It's a relatively old series. Really, it's been out for over 10 years. I believe was when even the anime is relatively quite old. But I believe this series really does. I think it really does deserve a continuation. I don't think it will ever happen, and I'm being very ambitious with making a video about it, dedicated to it. But it's got such a rich story to it. It doesn't have, what I like about it the most is that it's quite a rare example of an anime for an anime series. I wouldn't say it's very rare. There is plenty of series that are quite a mature theme. But what I mean is that it's not filled with like ecchi moments or anything like that, over sexualized sort of thing. It's not got anything like that in it. It's much more of a grounded series in that respect. But it's based in a time frame which is more like a medieval time frame, where all the towns and villages, all the houses are built out of wood, and it's mostly all farmland and desolate scenery. And they all have to literally, the Claymore characters literally walk from village to village, or it's horse and cart for most people. It's at that time frame that this is based in. And I love that kind of time frame when it comes to anything. I'm a big fan of that sort of storyline and setting. And not just the fact that these characters are all female warriors, that isn't my main focus towards it, but they are all really cool characters. The character development in this series is really good. Claire's arc is both heartbreaking and also really, really interesting to see unravel. And then there's also all these other characters that support her, or other Claymore characters that are like personal friends of Claire's in a way, or basically associates that work for the same agency. And then Rocky and Claire, as Rocky gets a bit older, he starts to kind of get feelings for her. And even though that doesn't really take over the whole narrative of the story, but that is there. And what you don't see in the anime is you see Rocky get much more development as well. In the original anime adaptation, you only ever see Rocky as a young boy or in his like very early teens, around about say 13, 14 years old. I would give a guess age there, but you never see him grow into a full-grown man. you kind of get an idea of what's going on, but it never gets fully explained. In the original anime series, they had to go with an original ending because the manga at the time was still ongoing, which was kind of the norm for a lot of anime. A lot of anime got released even though there wasn't enough material to actually make it properly. This was kind of like a big thing that happened a lot with a lot of popular anime at the time. Same with Fullmetal Alchemist, the original Fullmetal Alchemist series, even though it was great, but it went down a completely different avenue to the manga. And then that's why they did Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, because it actually followed the manga much more closely from beginning to end. And a lot of fans, even though there's a lot of people love the original, but a lot of people think the Brotherhood is the better one. It's a series you've got to watch for yourself. If you've never seen Claymore, if you've never seen this series, I really urge you to. If you're a fan of animation, or if you're a fan of Japanese animation, and you like medieval sort of, proper sword fighting, like knights, that sort of thing, demons. If you're into that kind of realm of entertainment, then this will be down your ballpark. It's just such a good series. It's rich. It has a good comedy value to it, but it's not overpowering, again, to the narrative of the story. It's just a good blend. Great action sequences, great fights. And like I said, the original manga is just a fantastic manga. I recommend the manga as well. Just if you can buy the whole thing now. It's been released for a long time. I recommend the manga. It is a great read. It's an easy read as well. It's a relatively easy read. You could probably get through a few volumes relatively quickly. It's not the longest of series either. So it's a pretty short story, but it's a good story. It's not like a real long one, like One Piece, for instance, or anything like that. So it's a relatively shorter story in chapter form, or in volumes or whatever, but it's a good story all in all. The original, like I said, the original anime series adaptation to it, that only covers probably about half the story. It only kind of, so like I said, the original anime, it completely does an original ending where basically, long story short, and spoiler alert here, I'm going to say spoiler before I even go any further in case you haven't seen it. But basically, it kind of follows the manga up to a certain degree, and then it goes off where Claire is after a specific character that killed her mentor. When Claire was a young girl, she got taken in and was looked after by a Claymore character called Teresa. And Claire looked up to her as like a goddess, a massive big role model to her. And she witnesses that Claymore being killed. And it kind of sent her in a completely, it really affected her mentally. So she was killed by a Claymore character called Priscilla. And she basically was the one that killed Teresa, and the whole narrative is that the whole arc for Claire is that she's seeking revenge for for killing her mentor. That's basically where the story leads to. In the original anime adaptation, like I say, you basically get to see Claire fight Priscilla. At the very end, a massive big fight sequence with a load of other characters. It's really, really cool. I mean, like I say, I do love the original anime adaptation, but the whole fight with Priscilla is like brought forward a little bit too soon. I think, if I remember rightly, when it comes to the manga, that is kind of like much later on. But they decided to kind of like give us the ending, which was basically Claire fighting Priscilla. But you never see Rocky get any older. You never see him develop more as a character. Because why I say that is because there's a really interesting thing. Is that there's a niggly thing with Rocky is that he hates the fact that he's unable to do anything to help Claire because of him being a young, defenseless child, basically. He's only a kid. And she's obviously abnormally strong because of the Yoma in her. And basically, he wants to be able to fight by her side and protect her. Because obviously he has feelings for her and he wants to protect her and also just be there for a little bit of support, basically, in a fight. And you never get to see him get any better as he gets older. In the manga, you do. He actually does train with an awakened being, which was actually a male Claymore character originally. He was the number one. And basically, this male, because there were male ones, but there wasn't as many. They seem to awaken much sooner than the female ones. Hence why the organisation went with with girls or females over males, because they seem to be able to withstand the urges of turning much more efficiently. So they went with females over the males because males were sort of seen as more of like a failed experiment. But there are still some out there in their world that they do meet along the way. And one of them, he actually kind of sees potential in Rocky, and he actually takes him under his wing, and he trains him up. And he becomes a really, for just a regular human, he actually becomes a really efficient warrior himself. Even though Claire is still stronger than him, but he's able to hold his own in a fight against another warrior or another enemy. And and that's something that you never see in the original anime adaptation, but you do in the manga. And that's how far it goes past. And then, so I would actually really like them to bring back a new series. I don't want a season 2 to what we've already had, because I don't think it'd quite work because of the original ending. I would like them to do a completely revamped series, and even if Madhouse don't do it, maybe give somebody else a chance to do it. But it's a series that does deserve a proper adaptation of an incredible manga. So thank you very much for watching. This has been my little thought process and a little bit on the backstory of Claymore. I really do recommend it to anyone. I know on this channel, not many people watch a lot of anime, or at least more, not as much as I do, probably. But there are people out there that this may get attention of, and I do recommend it. I really do. Even if you just check out the anime. But I really do urge people to check out the manga series for it as well, because it's just such a good story. Great character development. Great fight action sequences, some proper, really good dynamic fights. Really good strong female characters, warrior characters, which is so cool to see. And I'm not saying that in a certain way. It's just that these characters are written and it's a really good story, good balance. It's just got such a good balance to it. And it's a grounded series as well, and it's not as in your face with all like over sexualization of and all that kind of thing like you get in some stuff. It's just a very grounded series with good dynamic fights and a great character development of all the characters. It's just unfortunately with the anime you don't get as much as I've been saying, you don't get as much character development with Rocky. But you do get pretty good development with Claire when it comes to the anime. But if you go by the manga source, it's such a rich story, and I just wish somebody would either somehow do it justice and give us a really good revamped series for Claymore. Um, yeah, the fans want it, and they re-released the Claymore box set a couple of years ago on Blu-ray, and it's still popular, and I still revisit it over time. And but yeah, there we are. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with more videos very, very soon. Go check out Claymore, both the manga and the original anime. But let's see if we can get some notice from somebody somewhere. I mean, at this point, even if it was Netflix, I know people are going to be like, oh no, not Netflix. But I don't know. Netflix have actually brought us like revamped stuff in the past, or give us an extra, a new season, because, you know, they have actually done that in the past for some series. But at this point, I'd be happy if even Netflix took it on, because I think Netflix might be able to handle something like Claymore relatively quite well. It seems to be a series that they could be able to work with an animation company in Japan and actually get it done. But who knows? Who knows? We'll see what happens. But there we are. Thank you. Take care. See you soon. Bye bye.